This presentation includes forward-looking statements that are subject to risks and uncertainties. Actual results may differ materially as a result of various risk factors, including those described in the 10-Ks, 10-Qs, and 8-Ks VMware files with the SEC.
Flashing at you like a light. Think about it more than twice. Because it's high time, say bye-bye. We can't keep going on like that. And when you turn it down, then you'll finally hear that sound. We break down, then we break through, 'cause we can't touch the sky, but sometimes we can get a little closer. If we let go, stop trying to rule the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Carl Eschenbach.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's get this right so we only have to do it once. Pat got you warmed up yesterday, so let's get it right. Good morning. That was great. What a great audience. Thanks for making me feel really special to be up here in front of all of you. It's an honor to represent VMware here today at VMworld 2013 in our Day 2 general session. And I'd like to start by thanking our sponsors, our vast ecosystem of partners, our customers, and our employees for making VMworld 2013 once again another outstanding event. The numbers are in. The attendance is higher than ever. I was told this morning we have crested 22,000 people in attendance here at VMworld this year. But it was actually 22,500. So for me, it's not 22,000. It's not 22,500. It's 23,000 because I round up. So 23,000 people here today at VMworld 2013. And you know, this isn't just a great event for VMware. This is a great event for our industry. In fact, it's the single largest IT infrastructure event of the year, once again. And as both Pat and Robin talked about yesterday, this is our 10th anniversary, and we're quite proud of that. And of the 23,000 people that are here today, there's 33 people that are with us that have been to all 10 VMworlds. Actually, I lie. There's 34, because I, too, was there 10 years ago. And I had the opportunity, thank you, I had the opportunity to witness those 1,400 people with us in San Diego 10 years ago. And I can tell you, at VMware, we thought we were literally on top of the world. But we weren't quite on top of the world. But we did make some bold claims. And we said we had a vision that we wanted to be on top of every x86 server in the data center. And while we're not quite there, we've come a long way, thanks to you, our partners, and our customers. But that's enough looking back. Let's turn and look forward. And I want to start by looking forward and recapping the massive amount of innovation that Pat talked about on this stage yesterday. Because VMworld 2013 was one of the most innovative events we've ever held or had. And it started by the introduction of vSphere 5.5 and vCloud Suite 5.5. There is no reason for any of you or our customers to now not not virtualize your applications and drive towards that goal of 100% virtualization across the data center. We brought another innovation to market yesterday with the NSX platform, VMware's platform for network virtualization. And we heard from powerful customers like GE, Citigroup, as well as eBay, talking about how they're implementing and look to implement it in the future. A powerful new transformation taking place in networking right here at VMworld. In fact, when I was walking back to my hotel last night, I walked by a few folks and they said, "Hey, Carl, how you doing?" I said, "Well," he said, "You know, this isn't just VMworld, this is NSX world." And I said, "You're right, it is." But we didn't stop there with the innovation. Pat laid out VMware's vision for software-defined storage, and he introduced VMware's virtual SAN. We didn't stop there. We talked about hybrid cloud computing is the future of how IT will be delivered, both in the private cloud and the public cloud. And lastly, with the partnership we have with Pivotal, we announced that Cloud Foundry has the ability to run both on vSphere as well as on top of our vCloud hybrid service. This is the power of software. This is what Pat laid out yesterday. He laid out a vision, strategy, and direction, not just for VMware, but for an entire industry. And this can only be done through the power of software. But software also has a profound effect on more than just technology. It has a profound effect on the human capital side of business. And for decades, we've seen business have a high reliance on IT. And for decades, there's been a healthy amount of tension that existed. We at VMware believe the way to reduce the friction between the consumers of IT and the producers of IT is through software. And it is this new software layer that will drive a new level of trust and collaboration between the two, which ultimately means corporations will get easier access to their customers. It will allow employees to get access to applications and infrastructure services through any device in a very secure way. It will allow companies to be more competitive because they'll have a different level of business agility that they've never had before. And lastly, because you can bring new services, goods, and products to market faster, you will actually start to drive and increase the amount of shareholder value, all through the power of software. Now, this software needs to address the needs of both business and IT. And let's start by looking at IT. All of you here today, you all want to move to a world where you're focused on innovation and you're bringing applications to market and meeting demands of the business. But as Pat talked about yesterday, we understand there's a legacy data center of infrastructure and applications that you have to support. Through software, we can move to a world where we spend 70% of our time and 70% of our dollars on innovation. At the same time, the line of business never stops asking for more. They want their applications, and they want it now. And the only way to bridge that gap, as I said earlier, is through software. That's how we're going to do this. And through this software, what we're going to do is we're going to deliver IT as a service. That's what we're bringing to life here at VMworld 2013. Software will allow us collectively to bring IT as a service to market. Now, to do this, Pat talked about 3 imperatives. And these are things that absolutely must happen if you want to have IT as a service. We can't say, I'm not going to do one of these 3. You must virtualize all of IT. And we're not just talking about infrastructure. We're actually talking about infrastructure, applications, and desktops. And we need to move from a world of managing and management to a world of automation. And it's no longer private or public. It's no longer private versus public. We're going to live in a world of hybrid cloud computing where everything is seamless to the application and IT maintains its policies and control of how they run their data center today. And this all comes to life through one thing. But before I get to that one thing, I know all of you are sitting there and saying, you know what, this is ambitious. You know what, absolutely it is. You're saying, you know what, this can't be real. No, not true. This absolutely can be real. And you're sitting there saying, VMware, this is bold. And we're saying, yes, it is bold. Because we at VMware believe we can be bold because we have a track record of success. Just look at that last decade. And together, we have a strong foundation that we've built in the data center to allow these imperatives to come true. And these imperatives will come true in the form of the software-defined data center, where we virtualize all components of the data center, and we deliver IT as a service, and we automate it through the powerful software we're going to show you here today. Now that's enough of slides and slideware. Today we want to bring to life the software-defined data center. And to help get started, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to stage with me this morning Kit Kober, a principal engineer at VMware. Kit, welcome. Hey, Kit. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good, Carl. My favorite line of business owner, Carl.
Oh, that's
always demanding.
That's how we're going to start.
Always wanting more. Never satisfied. Nothing's good enough. How you doing, buddy?
That's a great start, Kit. Well, let me tell you. We didn't rehearse that one, Kit. So, Kit, let me tell you, I think I'm a pretty technical business leader, and I know what's going on in IT. And you always are saying to folks like myself, I got everything under control. I can get you everything you need.
Look, Carl, that was funny.
I thought it was.
I thought it was too, just as a video, but it doesn't apply to IT, Carl. We're not a chocolate factory here, okay? It's a lot more complex.
So why is it so complex, Kit? I don't really understand.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because, Carl, this may come as a shock to you, but you're not the only one who's screaming at us in IT. We have a lot of different constituents who have all sorts of requirements on us. Bottom line, though, we have to keep the lights on. We have to keep our business-critical applications up and running. We have to keep users like yourself, Carl, happy.
I appreciate that, Kit. Now, I understand that it's complex, but quite honestly, all I'm concerned about as a business leader is getting applications to market and getting them the applications to market fast and doing it right now. Do you have any challenges?
Do I have challenges with that? Of course I have challenges with that, Carl. Look, we agree with this idea of bringing applications to market quickly, but we also want to have them brought to market safely so we don't impact other business-critical services that we have in IT. That's the issue here.
Okay, great. So why don't you show me that you actually know how to bring an application to market and do it quickly?
I'd love to. Let's jump right into a demo. So what you're looking at here is vCloud Automation Center. This is where you, Carl, as an application owner, will come to select the applications and infrastructures that you want to provision. Now, as IT, I have control of this because I get to choose which applications and infrastructures are available to you here.
So through vCloud Automation Center, I, as an app owner or a business leader, am accessing infrastructure services.
Exactly.
And I see here there's multiple different classes or types of service I can get access to, correct?
You have a bunch of different
options. On the private
options.
cloud and the public cloud.
Yeah. You like options, don't you, Carl?
I do.
OK, good. We've given you a bunch of options here. Now, for today's example, I want to look at a Project Vulkan application that you made.
Hey, Vulkan is a mission-critical Tier 1 application, requires low latency infrastructure because it's highly transactional. I just want you to know that before you start.
Sounds very important, Carl.
Okay.
But look, so we in IT still have some more control points here. Because I can choose, within IT, I can choose where you can provision that application. And you can see here I've actually given you a bunch of choices because I'm such a nice guy, Carl. So you can provision it to the public cloud, the hybrid cloud, or the private cloud. Okay. What do you want, Carl?
So let's, in this case, use the private cloud in vSphere.
OK. So let's drill into that application on the private cloud. Now, here what you see is some basic information about the application. But, Carl, I know what you're wondering. How much does it cost?
Of course. I'm very concerned about cost anytime I deploy an application because I know there's a lot of under-the-cover infrastructure costs that I'm always not aware of that you end up telling me about.
Hey. What are you trying to imply here,
Let's
Carl?
keep going, Kit.
Okay.
Let's just keep going.
Okay. Well, you know what? We can actually check out the costs for running this not only on the private cloud, but also in various public clouds. What we're doing here is computing some estimated costs for running this application across a variety of different infrastructures.
So I see here, I now have the option to deploy an application, and I know my cost. And in this case, it's saying it's cheaper to run in the private cloud. Is that always the case with applications?
No, it turns out it's not. It really depends on the type of application you have, on what your data center is, how large it is, and the utilization of this application. The point is there's a ton of different variables, and previously it was really hard to know how much it costs to run this application. The point here is that we can take the guesswork out of that. Now you can see it, one number right in front of you.
So can you break that down further to say what that $316 consists of?
Yeah, you're a detail man. I appreciate that.
Sorry,
OK.
Kit.
Well, yes, we can. Not only on a per VM basis, but also within that VM, where are those costs going? How much are you spending on server hardware for that particular VM? How much on OS licensing, how much on labor, et cetera, et cetera. All the details that you want, Carl, right there in front of you.
That's great, Kit. I'm really excited. So let's keep going here if we can and see more.
All right, well, this looks like the right option for us. So let's go and make the request to provision this application. So we make the request, and as part of that, we have to fill in a couple of simple pieces of information. But now there's some interesting choices. Again, we in IT have control over this. So for instance, Carl, we've given you a few options about the database storage tier that you're going to select.
OK. In this case, I have 3 options. In this case, I'm going to pick silver.
Wait. Still, you're not picking gold?
I'm all concerned about cost here a little bit, so I'm going to pick silver.
An application owner doesn't want the best thing ever. This is shocking. OK. We are defying.
We were making progress, Kit.
OK, so silver, that's good. Now we want to, do we want to enable autoscale? So Carl, this autoscale feature is really cool. It's part of vCloud Automation Center, and what it allows you to do is automatically monitor your application and detect increases in load. If such a thing occurs, it can actually fork off an additional instance of your application to handle that increased load, all automatically.
So now that I know what autoscaling is, I think this application is going to be so good, it's going to want to grow over time. So I'm going to click that box. I want that.
Yep, let's do it. And then we select the maximum number of additional instances. In this case, we can just pick 7. And that's it, Carl. We can submit the request. So this is all things that you, as an application owner, have done. As we saw along the way, I and IT had different points of control over what you could do. And after you submitted the request, I have an additional point of control, because I can automatically approve that request through policies that I set, or I can have it be a manual approval process in the case that it's a very large request for a lot of VMs. I want to make sure you know what you're doing, right? Because sometimes, Carl.
OK.
Now, in this case, it's a small enough application that we can automatically approve it, so this thing's already been provisioned just in the time that we're talking here. So let's go and check it out. So here's what I see. It's all the different VMs that comprise my application. In fact, I can even drill into one of them to look and see how it's doing. And in this case, I see there's a green health badge.
Hold on. Green. Green is good, Kit.
We simplify things for you, Carl.
Thanks a lot, Kit. So I, as an app owner, now have the ability to look at the application and see the health of it?
Yeah, and that's it. And
I like that.
That's the whole demo there, Carl. I mean, that's all there is.
But it seemed a bit too easy, right, in you doing that. But, you know.
Wait. I'm sorry. Too easy? Has a lot of business owner ever said anything in IT is too easy, Carl? This is.
Well, maybe it wasn't too easy. I'm sure there was a lot of things going on behind the scenes. But what I saw there was the ability as an application owner to do self-service provisioning of applications. And I also saw transparency into the pricing. And I had the ability to select where I wanted that application to run and how much it was going to cost me.
Exactly. And those are great things for you as an application owner. But for us in IT, what we got is governance. Governance equals control. You saw how I had all these control points during that process, so I could direct you to the choices that I want to make available. And it's automation, Carl, that brings these two together. With automation, I get the best of both worlds, where you get the freedom that you want, and I and IT get the control that I need.
That seems like an oxymoron. I get freedom, I can do whatever I want, but you maintain control. Who's really in control here, Kit?
I like you have the perception that you're in control, Carl.
OK, very good. So with that, Kit, let's take a step back. And let's go all the way back to the beginning of this demo. Because as I said, this seemed way too easy to provision an application literally through a couple clicks. And I actually had the opportunity to do that. It wasn't even IT. So can you step back and take it from the top being the application, and show me how that application actually got provisioned?
Sure. A lot just happened in the background here. So let's walk through that with our first demo on application provisioning. Now, what you're looking at here, Carl, is vCloud Application Director. I've accessed this through vCloud Automation Center. And this is the point of view from an application owner again, something you're looking at, Carl. Now, what we're doing here is we're winding the clock back a bit to just after we submitted that request for the application. As you can see here, the Project Vulkan application is now in the process of being provisioned. So let's drill into it. Now, Carl, as I'm sure you're aware, standing up new applications is extraordinarily time-consuming, especially with modern applications that have 20 or 30 different components, different VMs that comprise them. Networking, configuration, getting them all talking to each other. There's a lot of work there.
Okay.
vCloud Application Director actually automates all that for you. It creates an execution plan that understands the dependencies between the VMs so it can stand them up in order, get networking, configuration, everything done for you automatically. And the best part is it actually integrates with your existing software deployment and configuration management tools, such as Puppet or Chef.
I like it. Anything else you want to tell me?
Yeah, let's check out what this application actually looks like. I'm sure you're intimately familiar, but
I am. I'm very knowledgeable about applications, and I understand applications require just more than one virtual machine. In fact, there's many tiers sometimes of provisioning an application. So you're telling me we're provisioning a multi-tiered application simultaneously here?
We are.
I gotcha.
And you're right. Modern applications have a lot of complexity to them, right? This isn't just a vApp. This is a full end-to-end application definition here. We have all the different components of that application, all the dependencies between those components, as well as all sorts of configuration information. And you can create that all visually right here, Carl.
That's great.
Now, Carl, there's one thing I want to point out here that you don't see.
What is that, Kit?
That's infrastructure. Because what we're doing here is defining the application separate from the infrastructure that we're going to provision it on. Now, as you are well aware, Carl, anytime you provision an application onto a specific infrastructure, there's various customizations you need to make to that application to ensure that it works on that infrastructure. That's no longer the case. vCloud Application Director takes care of that for you. This makes your life simpler, Carl, because all you do is you define the application, and that's decoupled from whatever infrastructure you choose to run it on.
So now you're telling me you've decoupled the application from the infrastructure as well.
That's exactly right. Does that make you happy?
I'm starting to get really happy. I'm really excited about what you're showing me here, Kit. And if you recall, I talked about this application being mission-critical application, and I chose to run it on vSphere, specifically vSphere 5.5. Do you know why I did that?
Do I know why you made the decision that you made?
Yeah.
Yes, I do, Carl, actually.
Why?
I have to read your mind, you realize.
I like that.
OK. Let's talk about that for a second. So Pat yesterday covered vSphere 5.5 and all the improvements we've made to it to support running any application. Now you really can run any application virtualized on vSphere. But the interesting thing about these improvements is that now for the most demanding applications, virtualizing them means you have to run them on vSphere because it's really the only available choice. And this would be for your Project Vulkan application with this real latency sensitivity. We've done a bunch of work, the foundation of ESX, to reduce jitter and to ensure that these applications are scheduled so that this latency sensitivity is no longer an issue and that you can run them in production with assurance.
That's exactly why I chose vSphere 5.5, because I think it has the ability to actually handle any virtualized workload. And this Project Vulkan, as I said, is a pretty mission-critical application to me. So let's take a look, Kit, at what we actually saw here. We saw the ability to streamline an application in all of its provisioning, but not just a single app, clearly a multi-tiered application in this context. Secondly, we saw the importance of decoupling the application from the infrastructure, and you used automation to reduce the steps for IT, which reduces the OpEx cost of running IT. At the same time, it reduces the amount of human errors that could be actually implemented if you were doing it manually.
That's a very good point, Carl. As a matter of fact, for us in IT, reduction of human error is a huge thing, because for some reason your team just seems to love to create problems for us by fat-fingering things. So by removing that element from the equation, we reduce risk and thus keep our business-critical services up and running.
OK, so now I'm happy. You've proved you can provision an application very easily. But I know, Kit, an application requires a significant amount of infrastructure, things like networking, things like storage. And based on my knowledge of networking and how it works in a virtualized environment, I know that it's very easy to provision a virtual machine in a matter of minutes, literally, probably even seconds. But the conventional way of doing configuration and provisioning and networking, when you need layer 2 through 7 services, is actually very complex for you. And it doesn't take minutes, it takes days. So we get the VM into the infrastructure, and then we hand it off to the assembly line of your network administrators to provide all these layer 2 through 7 services. So why is that so complex?
Well, look, Carl, these guys are working really hard. But there's some fundamental issues that we have here. Pat and Martine talked a little bit about this yesterday, so I'd like to touch on them again. The most fundamental problem here is that the application is still connected to that physical network. It's still tethered to it. Now, if you cast your mind back to before the advent of compute virtualization, we had the exact same problem with applications and physical machines. They were tied together. This made provisioning very slow, time-consuming, so forth. But compute virtualization broke that dependency. Now you could rapidly provision VMs. You could take snapshots. You could do vMotions, all sorts of cool things. But for networking, we don't have that yet, or at least we didn't before yesterday.
OK. So I don't like that chain there. Is there something we can do and leverage the powerful platform NSX for network virtualization to change a conventional way of doing networking?
Sure, definitely. So let's talk about NSX. How does it work? Well, it starts off with your existing physical network infrastructure. There's no need to even change any configuration there. As long as you have basic connectivity, all this stuff will work. What we do is layer on NSX on top of that. It's implemented in software. And what it creates is this network hypervisor, which decouples the application from the physical network underneath. Moreover, it provides a variety of network services in software: L2 switching, L3 routing, firewall, load balancing. The best part about this, Carl, is that these different services are tied to the lifecycle of your application. So when your application is created, they can be automatically created. When your application is updated, they can be automatically updated. When your application is retired, they can be automatically retired.
So what you're telling me is that as one of the many VM administrators out here today, when they provision their virtual machines, you're going to now tell us that we can provision all the layer 2 through 7 networking services at the same time?
That's exactly what we're saying, Carl.
I need to see a little bit more about actually how that occurs. And I need to also understand why is there so many dependencies when you're in a multi-tiered application when it comes to networking.
OK, need. Let's take one thing at a time here. Here we go. Now, we're looking at another demo here. And what we've done, again, is kind of rewind the clock back. Since so many things happened, we're kind of going back to right after we hit the submit button. That request is approved. vCloud Automation Center contacts NSX to have it provision switching, routing, firewall, load balancing, all automatically. And now what we're looking at here is the vSphere web client. There is a VI admin sitting here watching the screen, but he's not doing anything. He's sitting there just watching tasks fly by. These tasks were created automatically by vCloud Automation Center and NSX without any manual human intervention.
OK, this again sounds too good to be true, because I said earlier, in a multi-tiered application, there's a lot of dependencies across the tiers, but also on networking. Why are there so many dependencies?
Well, let's check out a slide to really illustrate this point here. So Project Vulkan is very similar to many applications with multiple tiers. In this case, it's fairly simple and it only has 3 tiers. But nevertheless, we have some issues with networking. The first thing we need to do is get the VMs within a single tier talking to each other. That's what we create a switch for. We create one per application tier. Next problem, get those application tiers talking to each other. We do that with routing. That also connects us to the outside world. But once we're connected to the outside world, now there's security threats, right? An intruder could get in. So that's why we need a firewall. And finally, Carl, I know your applications like to be big, like to scale, like to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. So we need load balancing for that, too.
OK. All right. Still, it seemed a little bit too easy. You did a couple clicks. You got the application. And you got all the infrastructure services specific to networking through a couple clicks. Can we take a step back and really articulate to everyone how powerful the NSX platform is and how it actually works?
Sure. Never satisfied. But we can go one level deeper here. So let's check it out. So it's instructive when we're talking about this to look back at how networking is done today in the conventional sense. So if we go and create an application tier, what do we have to do? We in IT have to go and manually configure all these physical switches in order to get basic connectivity between our application tier.
So every time you create a virtual machine, you're telling me these switches that lit up orange need to be provisioned and configured to allow virtual machines to talk to each other across an east and west fabric.
Yep.
OK, so what happens, Kit, if I have to provision another virtual machine?
Exact same thing, Carl. We have a different set, potentially, of physical switches to go and configure. This is exactly why it takes us days to get you a new application. There's just a lot of manual work here.
I see that. So can NSX address switching on a local host?
Definitely. So let's check that out. So what we're doing with NSX is conceptually moving the switching intelligence to the hypervisor. What that allows us to do is that when you create an application tier and the VMs within that, those logical switches can be created immediately and routed along top of your existing physical network fabric without any changes to that configuration. I mean, Carl, sometimes people see this and they're just like, this is just crazy, right? How does that work? Well, think about a virtual machine. If you go and create a virtual machine, do you have to do anything to the ESX machine that it's running on? I mean, do you touch it?
Not at all.
No, you click a button, it goes, right? The ESX box is just sitting there doing its thing. This is exactly how it works with networking. When you create a new virtual network, you don't need to touch the physical network, just like with a virtual machine. So NSX handles it for you.
So what I see here also is I see something called hypervisor with NSX. So for those people who say, VMware, you were a good hypervisor company, this is a pretty powerful hypervisor because now you have network services in it.
Right, there's a lot more functionality here.
But there's more than just switching that takes place in networks. There's routing. Can NSX address some of my routing needs?
Definitely, Carl. So let's again take a step back and look how it works today. Just like with switching, if I have to get two application tiers to talk to each other, I need to configure a physical router to go and do that. That's yet another step in this multi-day process of getting everything set up for you, Carl.
So if those virtual machines need to speak to one another today and they have to go through a router, it actually has to go out to a router you've provisioned and back into the same host to allow them to talk.
Right. Very perceptive. That's exactly what happens. If we have two VMs on the same host but on different subnets, in order for a packet to get between them, currently it has to go way out to the physical router and back.
Hey, Kit, I'm going to surprise you.
OK.
In the networking world, we call that hairpinning.
Really? Wow. Carl, I'm impressed.
We're getting there. It
is a curious term, though, hairpinning. You know, it seems like the kind of thing that accidentally winds up in your enchilada at that Mexican place across the street. You know. Whatever your mental image is, Carl, it's a bad thing, OK? We don't like hairpinning. And so we want to try and avoid that. So with NSX, what we can do is move the routing intelligence into the hypervisor, just like we did with switching. And now when two VMs are on the same host, but different subnets, NSX will know that and can optimize the packet flow.
No more hairpinning.
No more hairpinning.
I like that.
Yep.
So that seems like, to me, it would do two things. Number one, it would take a significant amount of traffic off the network kit that once historically existed because everything was going through a router. And it also could potentially, eliminate a choke neck in the network with the router itself.
Yeah, precisely. And you might look at this and think, well, that's a cute little optimization there, but how big of an impact could it possibly have? Well, it turns out the impact can be pretty massive because various studies have shown that up to 70% of the traffic within a data center is just between VMs in the data center. This makes sense if you think about it because a single packet into your application will very likely spawn maybe 10 or 20 packets between the different VMs within that application, between the load balancer, the web server, the database, et cetera, right? So 70% of the traffic in your network is just going through those routers and back to another hypervisor.
I like that. I wish I could drive to work in the morning, do a couple clicks like you did, and 70% of the traffic to get to the office is gone.
I know. It'd be amazing,
I would like that. I only
Yeah.
live a mile from the office, but there is still traffic at times. So, Kit, let's keep going, because I also have some other concerns. And I'm very concerned about security, especially with some of these mission-critical applications I'm bringing to market, because it's the deep intellectual property of the company, and I need to make sure it's protected.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure it's very important. So what we're going to do is set up a firewall in the exact same way that we set up switching and routing. And that is we can move that intelligence into the hypervisor in a distributed manner.
OK. So to me, that seems like you're now telling me that running in a virtualized environment and allowing virtual machines to speak to one another and go through a local firewall is actually even more secure than running on the networks as we do today.
Precisely correct, Carl. Because the thing is that we can enforce these firewall rules at the application in the hypervisor. So block packets never make it out to the wire. There's no way for an interceptor to grab a wire and get that data. So this is much more secure. This is something that networking guys actually call zero trust. Which I think coincidentally is about the same level of trust you have in IT.
No, that's not true. First of all, Kit, I do trust you. I'm just not convinced you're always doing the right thing for me. But that's different than trust. Let me just be clear. I do trust you. Or I wouldn't be up here in front of 20,000 people, right? So I do trust you, but I'm not yet convinced we're all the way there. As I said earlier, I have applications that need to scale out, which means there's a lot of traffic coming at multiple virtual machines, and I need to balance that traffic somehow. Can NSX help me there as well?
Definitely. So load balancing works in exactly the same way as firewall, routing, and switching does. We move that intelligence to the hypervisor, and we get all the great optimizations and ease of management.
Okay, Kit, that was quite impressive. So what you've just shown is that we can move from this world, in conventional world of provisioning a virtual machine fast, but then taking it through that assembly line to get those networking services, which takes days, and we can take that days away, and with network virtualization, we can do everything in minutes.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Is that giving you what you want?
It does. I'm actually really excited to leverage this technology, and I have confidence that you know how to do it. And yesterday here on stage, we had 3 of the largest corporations in the world talking about how they would leverage network virtualization and specifically NSX Kit. We had GE, we had Citi, and we had eBay. But I'd like to know, has anyone already done this and implemented everything you and I just spoke about?
Definitely, Carl. We have a few different proof points out there.
But everything you showed me was actually occurring at time of virtual machine creation, and all of those networking services were done when you were creating a new virtual machine.
Yep.
But in my environment today, I'm about 80% virtualized. So I have this entire infrastructure that has virtual machines already up and running. Can I migrate them into this new platform called NSX?
Definitely, Carl. Let's check out a demo to show how that works. So what we're looking at here is we're back in the vSphere web client. And we're looking at a VM that's connected to a conventional physical network. In this case, it's VLAN 100. Now, what I want to do is move that over to an NSX logical network. And I can do that by setting up a bridge. So let's go and see that bridge that I've created. There it is, VLAN 100 bridge. Great. It's connected to virtual wire 7 in NSX. OK, now we just need to connect that virtual machine to that logical network. Now, Carl,
say you're doing all this through the vSphere web client, the same client that these folks use today?
They know and love. Yep.
OK, very good.
So we have a couple of options about how to actually connect this virtual machine up. Now, option 1, we can power cycle the VM, power it off, power it back on.
Say that again.
Power it off, power it back on.
We were getting closer, but to me, I know if I power cycle anything off and on, it means the application or whatever it is goes down. That's not good. I don't like that option.
Yeah, OK. I guess you might. So we got a backup idea here. We can also do a vMotion. There's no downtime with vMotion.
Wait, vMotion? vMotion moves a virtual machine from one physical host to another, and the application doesn't go down. It has nothing to do with networking.
Well, now it does, Carl.
OK.
Let's check this out.
Tell me more.
When this vMotion is completed, this VM will now be connected to the NSX logical network. And there you go. It's kind of hard to read, but now you can see a very long string here for the NSX logical network. And so now we've got done. This virtual machine, without going down, now has all the benefits of NSX: elasticity, simplified management, some of the performance and security things we mentioned just a couple of slides ago.
So, Kit, what you're telling me is you took a virtual machine that was running on a VLAN, and you basically did a V2V, a virtual-to-virtual migration of that virtual machine, leveraging vMotion, off of a VLAN and onto the new NSX platform?
You don't believe me, Carl? I mean, has a demo ever lied, Carl? Come on, dude. Hey.
Not so far
you guys are
today.
on my side.
Keep going, Kit. Let's not go there. I don't want to get involved in that conversation right now.
So that's the demo. Does that solve your concerns, Carl?
Nope. Sorry. I have one more concern.
OK.
I said I was about 80% virtualized. So that would work for my virtualized environment. But what if I have applications that obviously are still running on physical hosts and actually running on physical networks? Are you going to tell me now you can do some sort of a P2V for NSX?
I'm going to say exactly that, Carl, because the same technology also works for physical machines. You can connect a physical machine into the NSX logical network in much the same way we just saw with this demo on the virtual machine. So yes, Carl, we got that covered.
Wow, so that was powerful, Kit. Let's step back and take a look at what we just saw. So through the use of a technology like NSX and network virtualization, we showed how much faster and more efficient we can be to bring networking to life in a virtualized environment. And what I really enjoyed looking at here, Kit, was that we were using the same operating principles and models that we use for compute virtualization. And lastly, I love the fact that we protected all of our customers and our partners' investments they've made in their existing infrastructures, and we've just layered NSX on top of it.
Yep.
That is actually very powerful.
Right.
We are making progress here today.
That's great.
Are defying convention, Kit.
That's great, Carl.
But you know what? I'm still not quite happy. Because as I said earlier, I know that applications require more infrastructure services, not just networking, in this case, storage. And let me tell you a little bit about storage, because storage, I understand, is complex, but all I worry about is my applications. And my applications have a number of real key requirements and dependencies. First, they absolutely need to get to market, and they need to get to market extremely fast. And when they're a mission-critical application, they have to have predictable performance. There is no other solution. And I need to set a policy in an SLA for that storage environment, and it can't change. In fact, it has to self-remediate itself if it can. Then lastly, I need to always understand how much my storage infrastructure costs, because I don't want a bill at the end of a week, a month, or quarter saying you needed more storage. Now, I know I've asked for a lot, but can you help me solve some of these storage challenges and dependencies I have on my application?
Sure, Carl. You always ask for a lot, but you know what? We can help you.
I don't, Kit. I don't really.
So let's take a look at this. So just like we solved the issues with networking, we can also do it for storage. Now, yesterday, Pat talked about all the cool storage innovations we at VMware have been doing over the last many years within vSphere. These are all technologies that you know and love. What he also introduced yesterday was our software-defined storage initiative and a bunch of really cool things in there. Now, for this demonstration, I want to focus on virtual SAN, because I think it'll meet a lot of the needs that you just talked about in the previous slide.
Okay.
So let's talk about how this works. Now, you saw virtual SAN yesterday, and you may think that looks cool, but how does it work? What is it? Well, what virtual SAN does is actually take all the direct attached storage from all hosts in your cluster and pool them together into one giant logical data store. This is really great because all the VMs within that cluster can now take advantage of that. And Carl, I know you'll appreciate this. Virtual SAN makes intelligent use of solid-state disks as well as spinning disks in order to maximize performance while at the same time decreasing costs.
So I'm really intrigued by this, because I know in most VMware or virtualized environments, everything connects to an external array, whether it's NAS or SAN. And what you're saying here is that unused resources that sit in computes today, like local disk and flash, can actually now be used in virtualized environments.
Yep. Yeah, you can take advantage of the thing that wasn't previously being used.
I like
really
that.
Cool. Yeah.
Let's keep going. Let's see how this actually works, Kit.
Sure. We got a demo lined up for you, Carl. Now, we're back here in the vSphere web client again, and we're looking at a cluster. We want to enable virtual SAN on this cluster. Now, currently, as you can see, virtual SAN is disabled. So let's go and see how difficult it is to enable it, Carl. We click on the edit box, we check this box, and we hit OK. Whew, that was rough. I mean,
wait. You just
tough.
enabled virtual SAN through that same vSphere web client that they're using today?
You know, it's simple enough that even an app owner could do it, Carl. But we're not going to let you.
Kit, that hurt, man. We've been making such good strides here this morning, and you just keep throwing zingers at me. I'll get the last laugh, I promise. So that was pretty impressive, Kit. But as I said earlier, the thing I'm always concerned about is an SLA. And I want to make sure that I have the ability to set a storage SLA and that it gets maintained throughout the life cycle of the application.
Yeah, that's a great question. So virtual SAN fundamentally changes how you can do policy management with storage. Now, conventionally, what you do, if you want an application with a certain policy, you need to file a ticket for a data store to be created with that policy that you can then put your virtual machine on. And the virtual machine, by virtue of being on that data store, gets the policy that you created the ticket for. Do you get all that?
I did. So I think what you're saying is, in the past, we used to have to set the storage SLA at the data store itself.
Right.
Now, once again, these same administrators can set the data storage policy at time of virtual machine creation.
Precisely. The policy is now attached to the virtual machine. So it will follow that virtual machine or that application wherever it goes across any virtual SAN data store. That's the power and simplicity that you get, Carl.
That's great. But guess what? Of course, I'm going to throw something else at you, Kit.
Of course,
here.
yeah, got to keep me on my toes.
Absolutely. I'm really always concerned not about policies and maintaining policies in the SLA that we've set, but a lot of times these applications are so good, people need to get more access to them, so I'm also concerned about scalability.
Yep.
Can you scale?
Definitely, and you should always be prepared for your application to be ridiculously popular. I mean, just in case such a thing might come to pass.
My apps are always popular.
Sure. Well, it's good to be prepared. So let's jump into a demo to see how this works. Now, Carl, look at our virtual SAN data store here. What you can see is that the capacity is almost full. I think your users have gone hog wild, provisioning all sorts of applications on here, and now we're almost out of capacity. As a matter of fact, we actually have an alarm on this data store. The good news, though, is it's really easy to fix this problem. All we need to do is just add an additional host into the cluster. So you'll recall, Carl, that virtual SAN works by using the direct attached storage from all hosts in the cluster. And so if we add another host in, that's more direct attached storage, that's more capacity for our virtual SAN data store. So we're now in the process of adding that host. And when that completes, our virtual SAN will now have grown automatically. So let's go back and check out our data store to see how it's doing. And there we go. Our alarm's gone. Our capacity looks a lot better. Before, we were about almost full, and now we're just a bit under half full, or half empty, Carl, depending on your outlook on life.
I want it to be half empty because this application is so popular, I'm going to need more storage. So it's not half full, it's half empty.
That's the right attitude,
I'm just trying to appease myself and my users. Sorry, Kit.
Yeah, so that was it. That was the demo. That's how simple it is to scale up virtual SAN.
Well, that was great. One more thing. So you showed me resiliency, right? Or you showed me auto scale. You showed me the ability to maintain SLAs, but you haven't shown me resiliency.
Right.
And I want to know, can we fail over in this new world of virtual SAN without the application actually knowing it?
Definitely. Resiliency is built into the architecture of virtual SAN. So let's take a look at how this works. Now, we actually had a demo for this, but it turns out that nothing because it stays resilient, so nothing happens in the demo, and that's not very interesting. So we decided to make a slide to depict what was happening in the background instead. So if we recall back to our policy discussion, you can set a policy on the VM. Part of that policy is how many replicas of the data that you want down in virtual SAN. So in this case, Carl, just for simplicity's sake, let's say we have 2 copies of it. Now, I know you'd always want like 10 or whatever, just in case, but for here, we're going to do 2. And as you can imagine, whenever writes come down, one disk is the primary. That write is then mirrored to the second disk. And then once that's done, the ACK comes back for that write. Now, let's say that either the host that those disks are on or the disks themselves go down for some reason. We lose that main disk. Virtual SAN immediately recognizes that and will start copying the data from the backup disk to a new backup disk. And the old backup becomes the primary, such that all writes are now mirrored between the 2 disks again. This happens automatically without impact to your virtual machine. In fact, without it even being aware that anything's going on in the background.
So that was quite impressive, I must say, Kit. So let's take a look at what Kit just shared with us about virtual SAN. So first of all, what we've seen here is that provisioning of virtual machines is easy, and you use that same fundamental process to now provision your storage at time of virtual machine provisioning. So there's no change. The other thing I noticed that it seems like now, as you scale your compute infrastructure, you bring more servers in, just by the nature of them having local disk and flash, you're automatically scaling your storage infrastructure.
That's a very good point, Carl. And as a matter of fact, if you're also running NSX, you also scale your networking by virtue of the fact that we can optimize network traffic between 2 VMs on the same host.
Wow. And lastly, as I said earlier, in most virtualized environments, people aren't taking advantage of their local disk and flash. Now we have the opportunity not just to preserve, but actually extend the infrastructure in the disks you have that are being unused today. That is extremely powerful. Now, I'm sure everyone would like to get their hands on this. Would you agree?
I think so.
Yeah? So we're pleased to announce, and Pat said it yesterday, that VMware Virtual SAN is now available for beta. And all of you can get access to it simply by going to www.vsanbeta.com. And you can get your hands on this powerful software-defined storage platform called Virtual SAN. Very exciting, Kit.
What do you think, Carl? Are you happy? Have we done everything that you want?
So you have, actually. You've done everything I was looking for from an infrastructure perspective. But if I'm an end user and I'm coming to work for the first day and I want to get access to an application in the desktop, I typically call a help desk. They do a whole bunch of trouble tickets and file a whole bunch of things to get me up and running, and it takes way too long. I'm wondering if you can leverage everything we've talked about so far in this powerful software-defined data center and all of the automated provisioning to get me a desktop.
That's a very insightful point, actually, Carl, because you're right. If we can provision an application really quickly, that's awesome. But if we still have to file a help ticket to get a desktop, and it takes many days for that, we're not going to be able to use our application, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's check out how this is going to work. So we're back here in vCloud Automation Center. But there's one difference. We're not an app owner anymore. The user of this is an end user. And just like IT had control over what the application owner saw, the different applications and services, IT also has control over what the end user sees, what options they have to choose from. Now, in this case, what we want is a desktop. So we're going to go to Horizon View and provision this desktop.
And again, what I see here is exactly the same interface I used as an app owner to get access to infrastructure services for my app. Now I can do, through vCloud Automation Center, the provisioning of a desktop. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
OK, very good.
So there's a couple of choices here that IT's given us, one of which is the storage tier. So what do you want, Carl?
Is this my desktop?
It is your desktop.
I want gold.
There's the Carl we know and love. He's back. OK, good. So gold it is. We'll make the request.
Wow. That was
there you go,
impressive.
Carl. Your desktop's been provisioned.
That seemed too easy.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm 21 years old. I just got out of college. I'm coming to work for the first day, and I brought my iPad. And I want to use my iPad to get access to my applications in that desktop that you just provisioned. I bet you can't solve that.
Always on the cutting edge there, Carl.
I am.
So look, we can solve this. And it's through a product called Horizon Workspace. Now, what Horizon Workspace allows you to do is get access to your applications and your data on any device you choose. What we can see here in the demo is that we have an iPad, just like you wanted.
Thank you.
And we can see all the different SaaS applications that IT has provisioned to this end user. But Project Vulkan isn't a SaaS app, it's a desktop app. That's why we had to get the desktop. So we need to access that desktop. But guess what? We can still do it right here through the same interface. And just literally with a single click, we can get into it. We connect to Horizon View. And in just a couple of moments, we'll now be logged into that desktop. And then you can go have at it with your Project Vulkan application, Carl.
Wow. So what you've just done is you've provisioned me as an end user and got me access to the software-defined data center. And you weren't actually provisioning it. I was doing it to myself.
You're doing it all yourself?
I must say, we've come a long way today.
Thanks,
and
buddy.
I truly believe that you know how to bring the software-defined data center to life. Thanks for joining me on stage today.
OK, whoa, wait a sec there. Hold on, Tiger.
Tiger?
You're not
Tiger.
done.
Where'd that come from?
You're not done with me that quickly.
That was not in the rehearsal.
So, you know, Carl, I've been thinking a bit about that video that you showed at the beginning when I came out.
Not sure. What video? I didn't see anything.
Oh, how convenient. You've forgotten.
Sorry,
so
kid.
this little chocolate factory thing, making fun of IT. You know, I was thinking that it was only appropriate that we in IT, and by we I mean me and my 22,000 friends here, that we share what we think of you line of business guys. Now, you line of business guys are demanding, never satisfied, so ridiculously specific with every request you make.
Actually, Kit, all I want are applications, and I want them fast. And if you don't get them to me in the time I want, I don't get that upset. Actually, I'm a very patient man.
I can't say anything back to that.
Thanks for your time
Thanks
today.
a lot, Carl.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So in the first part of the demo, what we've seen today is truly the ability to use technology to converge infrastructures and bring the software-defined data center to life, and allow applications to very easily get access to that infrastructure. But it's not just applications, it's individual users. Users can now bring any device they want to the office. They can provision their own desktops to get access to those applications, but it's always done in a secure way because IT maintains control. So as a business leader, I'm starting to feel a lot more comfortable now about what's going on. And I believe we can truly bring applications to market extremely fast. But I'm not yet comfortable. And that's because I am not convinced that IT knows how to operate, manage, automate, provision, remediate in this new world of the software-defined data center. To help me get comfortable on the fact they do know how to operate in this new world, it gives me great pleasure to bring to stage VMware CTO of our EMEA operations, Joe Bagley. Joe, welcome. Hey, Joe, how are you?
Not too bad.
I like you guys.
Are you sure?
Yeah, Kit and I just had a great time up here.
It was a bit rocky, I thought.
No, I don't know. We came a long way. But there was some things that I still didn't feel quite comfortable with, Joe.
I'm surprised.
And the reason I say that is because, you know, I always hear about how hard it is to operate IT today. And in fact, it can be inefficient. And for you to get me comfortable that not only is the software-defined data center real, I need to understand more about actually what goes on and how do you operate in this new environment. Can you help me out?
Of course I can. I saw you had some trust issues with Carl there. And,
actually, I trust myself a lot.
I can see that, yeah. So let me take you, I mean, I spent the first half of my career in operations, so let me tell you the reality of commercial operations in conventional IT. And if we have a look here, what happens is really, you tend to have these silos of networking, storage, compute, then there's the weird security guys that no one really likes to talk to. And then within there, they have their own tools and workflows and a bunch of scripts. And then the interaction between those silos tends to be pretty manual. You know, it's emails, it's workflows, it's help desk tickets, etc. But then it really comes together when there's an issue, right? Because when there's an issue, it's nobody's fault and everybody's fault at the same time, and we all get together in a room and we have a little argument. And to be honest, what was really highlighted for me most was when one of the companies I was at actually had a room designated in the IT department, which was called the War Room. Just
Whoa.
Yeah.
War Room.
Yeah, War Room.
War rooms are not good. Anytime I hear IT say they're in the war room, I know something really bad has happened, Joe. I don't like war rooms.
To be honest, I'm with you on that. I wouldn't want to deal with or even, to be honest, work for a company that has a room specially dedicated for arguments. It doesn't say there's a whole lot of good stuff going on. But that's just going to get worse. And let me tell you how it's going to get worse. Because as we go through this change, at the moment, you guys out there maybe manage 10, 15, 20 servers. You know the names of all those servers. You know the IP addresses of all those servers. You probably have pictures of them on your wall at home. And what's going to happen next is you're going to suddenly have people like Carl turning up, creating hundreds, thousands of servers on demand. And trust me, you're not going to know all their names. At the same time, in this highly dynamic environment, he's going to be creating servers not just in your data center, but also off-premises, maybe in some public cloud. Yeah. And essentially, you're just going to hit a whole new world of scale and complexity. And that's pretty scary for us in operations, I can tell you.
Don't be scared, Joe. Why is it? I still don't understand. It still seems too complex.
OK, well, let me tell you how we'd actually bring something sorted here. So if you looked at, this is the slide that Pat showed yesterday about this script and rules-based management. Let me explain the flow here. So you're trying to, you've come to me from the business. You said, Joe, I need you to change this application, do something, modify it, roll it out. And what's going to happen then is we're going to have to wait for the change cycle for the networking department to carefully be at about the same time as the update cycle for the security department. And when all those other planets slowly align and we finally get to that point, what you discover is it relies on a script that was written by Bob, and he's on holiday for 2 weeks.
Hold on, Joe. Anytime I hear the word script, the first thing I think about is a manual process. I always get intrigued by, let's write scripts to automate things. Well, someone's got to write it. Well, there's the automation. That coupled with this slide looks still very complex and slow.
It's true. I mean, and to be honest, in scripting, I mean, we always thought in IT that scripting was the answer, but actually, if you think about it, it's just another posh way of saying manual.
What did you say?
Posh. It's an English word. I know you don't speak that language. Okay. And so what we're doing is we're coming to a whole new world. And so at VMware, we're introducing policy-based automation. And this is important. Automation based on policy. Things happening automatically. And realistically, that's what I want to show you today, Carl.
That would be great. So that picture obviously looks a lot more simplified than the one you showed first. I want to know more about the fact that you do indeed know how to operate in this new world of the software-defined data center. Can you show me?
Yeah, of course I can. So let's have a look at the demo. And here we'll show you how IT is going to finally automate IT.
Oh,
this is your view.
Joe, slow down.
Yeah.
So Kit provisioned his application. Actually, I provisioned this application earlier, and it was green.
Yeah, he made you think you provisioned it, but yeah, that's good.
Yeah. But yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
You helped.
Yeah.
And now it's orange. That is not good.
No, I know, and I can understand that. And I know before you jump on the phone, because I know you just look at the pictures, can we read the words as well?
Okay, you can.
If you look at the word there, you'll see that we have potential performance-related issues. But let's look at the tiny writing down there underneath, right? And that says there's...
That's why I can't read it. Oh. Look how damn small it is, Joe.
I know. As you get older, your arms aren't long enough. I know. Right. At the bottom, it says it's taking an automated remediation action. What that means is we're fixing this automatically for you. I'm not doing anything. You're not doing anything. And pretty much, you can trust us, Carl. We got it covered. We're done, right? So look at the orange. Don't pick up the phone. Leave it and see what happens.
Okay. Tell me more.
All right.
I'm getting there, Joe.
Well, let's take a look in vCloud Application Director. And if we have a peek in here, you'll see what's going on. Up the top there, see the nice spinny picture?
I do.
That's showing you that it's doing auto scale out.
Auto scale out. That's what I selected earlier when I provisioned that application because I knew this application would be a hot one.
Yeah, OK. So you got that, right? And it's now scaling out, which is what we expected it to do. So really, I mean, it's that easy. Simple. I mean, I think you're probably not believing me here, are you?
No, I'm not. Okay. Show me more. Show me what's actually behind the curtains here.
Let's have a look. So let's go into vCenter Operations Manager. And here in vCenter Operations Manager, you'll see on the right there, there's a graph of the performance. And that performance has suddenly dropped for some reason.
Yeah, I know when you go from top left to bottom right, that's an issue, Joe.
Yeah, so sales guys get that. So if you look down, you'll see there's a line there, and we've crossed a threshold. And that important thing here is that's a dynamic threshold. That threshold has been set automatically by the system. I didn't have to pick it. You didn't. Well, we wouldn't let you, but you didn't have to pick it either. In essence, it's monitored the health of the application over its normal running, and it said, OK, we've stepped outside of that now. So really, there's something going on, Carl.
So by looking at the application and the performance of the application, the system starts to understand what it needs on a day-to-day basis to run efficiently.
Yeah, we're trying to make our jobs a lot easier.
That's great.
Well, at the same time, let's drill in here and see a bit more detail. And if you look at the bottom right here, still in vCenter Operations Manager, you'll see that the throughput request served per minute has suddenly gone through the roof. So someone's obviously got some popular application running. Was that you?
Joe, how many times do I have to tell you? I only build applications that I know people are wanting to get access to. In this case, everyone wants access to Project Vulkan.
It sounds so cool. So if we look here, you'll see again, it's scaling up. I mean, it's happening automatically for you. This is why, but the whole thing's covered. So hopefully that should leave you a little bit more impressed and a little bit more trust, hopefully, about what we're doing in operations for you.
So Joe, I'm really impressed. Can you tell me what we just saw here? What are some of the key takeaways from this first demo?
OK, so what we saw there was the automated operations features allow you to have a policy-driven, automated proactive response. The thing's actually now doing it for you. At the same time, you'll see we built into it intelligent analytics. And those analytics are setting those thresholds and understanding how the system's performing and making sure that it's setting the way that it runs based on how it does.
That's great, Joe. And I, as an application owner, not only have visibility into the application, but also the health of the application itself.
It's true.
So can we go back and look at how my application looks now?
OK. All right, let's have a look back in the demo. And if you look here, there's your list of application servers as before, and you'll see at the top there it says auto scale, and that's obviously completed now. So if we now go back and check, again, in your lovely view, you can come and see the pictures of what's going on with your application.
Oh, hold on. I thought it fixed itself.
Yeah?
It gave me green.
Yeah.
You give me orange. Now you're giving me yellow. Yellow's not good.
It's better than orange, right?
I guess it depends on where you're from in the world, Joe.
Fair enough.
Gotcha.
Again, I need you to look beyond the pictures here and read the text. If you look here, it says there's some level of problems. But in fact, it's also saying that we're taking action as an admin team behind the scenes. And we're working on that. And we may have to contact you for some actions you may need to take on that. So what we're going to do now is actually have a look at how those admins are doing that for you. So if we go back to vCenter Operations Manager, but this time we're going to look into taking action. Now, in the real world, it's a little bit more complex, right? And what we're doing here is showing you that we're highlighting deployment options that are no longer valid due to the load. Now, see up there, it says disk I/O usage is not suitable with storage tier selected.
Yeah?
What storage did you select, Carl?
I think it was silver.
Oh, God. Right, OK. So if you now go down, you'll see here that we need some improved storage IOPS. And at the bottom there, it's actually recommending an action intelligently.
Don't take that action, Joe.
Well, yeah, but we just want to move your database to the gold tier.
But how do I know I can trust that this is telling you exactly what's going on? In this case, it's saying storage, but how do I know it's not networking or an application or a compute issue?
All right, fine. I'll prove it to you.
Okay.
So if we can just click across into Operations Manager, you'll see here on the right that this information is based on feeds from all of our ecosystem partners in the data center. So you've got people like NetApp, EMC, HP there, all providing information to us about exactly what's going on. So we're taking a view of the entire environment, one complete view of the software-defined data center.
So Joe, you're telling me that VCOps now has the ability to easily integrate into the existing enterprise systems management tool and actual other tools in the data center and pull information to really get a look at the entire data center as to how things are performing.
Of course.
That's a great integration. That's powerful.
And so hopefully this should show you that we're taking these decisions here on whatever the recommendation says based on the entire big picture and not just the hypervisor view. So if we can go back, let's go ahead and move your storage up to the next tier. Is that okay?
No, because I know if you go from silver to gold in storage, it's going to cost me money. And I want to know that that's going to happen so I don't get a bill at the end of the month.
Okay, well, let me assure you of that, obviously we in IT don't go out spending money willy-nilly. That would be a nice dream. So instead, what we're going to do is as we click on Take Action here, let's go back and look at your view, Carl. This is back in vCloud Automation Center, and there's an inbox there for you. And if you look at the inbox, you'll see there's a mail. Let's open up that mail and see what it says.
So this is me back into vCloud Automation Center where I provision my applications, and now there's a tab that says Inbox saying, hey, Carl, you have something to go look at.
That's exactly it. We're trying to make it simple.
Send me an email. Tell me what's going on, Joe.
Okay, so the email there is telling you there's a cost impact and a tier request, and there's more information there if you wanted to drill into it. But you just have to come up with some kind of justification based on the way we set the system up here. It looks like you're coming up with a reasonably valid one.
It's my budget. I want to approve this, Joe. Let's go ahead and approve this.
Yeah, okay.
Some better storage.
Well, we click approve, and we're done. And in fact, what's happening behind the scenes here in this instance is that that database is being moved from the silver tier to the gold tier automatically using the cool storage vMotion features of vSphere. So again, we're making this as simple as possible. And how about I take you back and show you what we look like now. So let's have a look and see whether we're green again or not. Come on. Is that the right picture for you?
I'm happy.
OK, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Really appreciate that.
That was quite
a good partner.
Good.
So, Joe, that's great. There you go. Thank you. So it seems like, to me, there was a remediation that happened, and it did it automatically, right?
Yep.
So I was really impressed with the takeaways from that demo. What did you think about what you showed, and how can you simplify it for the folks in the audience about the power of remediation?
So first you saw the automated remediation, and then what I just showed you is the guided remediation. The guided remediation is showing you that we're bringing in information for these decisions from a broad ecosystem across the software-defined data center. And at the same time, we've built recommendations in there to speed up those actions and make sure that we can get things right fast.
That's great. And what I saw is workflows being driven by IT policies. And I saw that there was a financial governance model for me to decide when I wanted to move to this new tier of storage. So we both got what we really needed there.
And that's cool. And I'm glad that finally people like you in the business are realizing that there's a cost associated with IT. And
there you go again. So that's great. But you have yet to tell me what actually happened. So can you tell me what the root cause of that application going from green to orange was? If you can tell me that, I'll feel more comfortable. You can be assured, or I can be assured, that won't happen again.
OK, so let's see what we can do for you here. If we go back into the demo, this is the screen we saw before with the disk I/O usage not showing right. And the reality here is that in IT operations, it's all about firefighting, right? It's about keeping stuff up, keeping things going as much as possible. Priority 1 is get it back up again. Priority 2 is work out what happened so it doesn't happen again. Now, we're hoping with the automated stuff I just showed you before, you'll have more time to work out what went on. But of course, what went on is going to get more tricky and more complex now because we have a lot more to look at. We're dealing with a massive scale. And if you think about it now, you're going to very soon, as admins, have thousands of machines in your data center, each generating thousands of events per second. And that turns into a big data problem. And that's going to be a big data problem just for IT.
Big data. Ooh, another cool buzzword you're bringing at the business. Now all you have to say is data lake, and we'll get them all.
OK, well, I haven't got data lake for you. But what I have got is another buzzword. The solution to a big data problem is big data analytics. And that's exactly what we've built out of a project that started in the Office of the CTO, is our big data analytics solution. And this solution is Log Insight.
So VMware now has a big data analytics solution as well as everything else we've seen today.
Yep, we don't want to give these guys the software-defined data center without arming them with the correct tools and operations to manage it once they get there. So let's actually drill in and have a look here. If we click on where it says View the Log Insight log messages, it's going to have intelligently filtered for the messages that are relevant to us. And if you look there, you'll see 15 events listed. And those of you out there in the audience who know this console well will see that what it's actually doing is provisioning storage. And provisioning storage isn't an error. It wouldn't come up as an error. What's actually the error is that we're provisioning so much storage in such a short time for some reason, and we probably can guess by now, you guys, why we can you even guess why we provision a lot of storage?
I actually know. I think I know what's going on here. This is because we clicked that box that said storage scalability.
Yeah, the auto scale.
The auto scale of storage without anyone doing anything, and that's what we're seeing here in these logs.
Yeah, in fact, what happened is that application tier from that blueprint scaled out. That was putting a load on storage. There were a lot of events coming up, which would have been fine if you'd selected gold in the first place, but it was on silver, so we had to deal with that and then move it to gold.
Joe.
So just to show you the power of Log Insight, let's take this filter away. Those 15 events came from over, you'll see it up here, 65 million events that were collected just in that short period of time from a few machines. Now, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I certainly wouldn't want to go sifting and grepping through 65 million events to find the relevant one. And that's even if I could have pulled them all in from the relevant endpoints in the first place to collate them into a place that I can search through them properly. The important thing here is that we've made this easy and we've made it automated at an unprecedented scale. And importantly for you, Carl, now that we know what happened and we've moved to gold storage, we can assure you it's never going to happen again. Do you feel better now?
Yes, actually, I'm very impressed. Very, very impressed right now, Joe.
And the reason you feel impressed and a bit happier is that in this new world, we're going to need new tools, new methodologies to manage this whole new level of complexity and scale as the database expands and as our workloads increase. And so, really, it's going to get faster and more challenging than ever before. And we, with these tools, have made sure we're arming you with the correct tools for the job.
That's great. Now, Joe, that was very exciting, and Log Insight seems like a very powerful tool. Wouldn't it be great if we could somehow give the audience here at VMworld this year access to these licenses?
I'm sure we can, and we've put something together for them.
Wouldn't it be better if I could give it to them for free?
Free?
Yes.
Sales guy, free, it doesn't work. OK. There you go, guys.
So I'm pleased and proud to announce that today, anyone attending VMworld actually can get access to 5 free licenses of vCenter Log Insight by simply following us on Twitter at VM Log Insight. Go have fun, folks, and enjoy this new powerful data analytic tool that we've integrated into all of our automation and orchestration and provisioning infrastructure. Enjoy.
Thanks, guys. Go for it. It's good stuff.
So we're almost done here, right? But there's one last thing. Everything we've talked about so far here today was in the context of a private cloud, both the software-defined data center and all the management, automation, and provisioning tools. But what if, Joe, I wanted to have the flexibility to seamlessly extend that software-defined data center from behind the 4 walls of my own data center today into the public cloud, and not just do it one way, but actually be able to go back and bring those applications very easily back into my private cloud. So effectively what I'm asking you for, Joe, is to take any application, have the ability to run at any place, and I don't want to see any changes to your operating procedures in IT. How about that challenge? Yeah,
as always, more than moderately demanding. So let me show you one final demo, okay? Now, you guys will recognize this. It's the vSphere web client. You've all seen it before, hopefully. It's been updated in the 5.5 release. But you'll also notice there's a new icon. Up there on the right, vCloud Hybrid Service, now directly accessible from your existing vSphere web client console. And if we click on that, you'll see that you can see your virtual data center in that same console, and that's in our public vCloud Hybrid Service environment, that you're in that same console, and at the same time, you can see all of your resources and machines available there for you. And we go one step beyond that. In fact, we go several steps beyond that. We've tried to make this as seamless as possible for these guys. So what we've got here is a list of templates. These templates are currently in our public vCloud Hybrid Service, and you'll see 4 of those at the top have actually come across synchronized from our on-premise installation of vSphere. And if we go and have a look and see where they came from, you'll see there's those 4 templates as we drill in here. And the cool piece now is that these are continually synchronized, so that now you can make sure that any updates to those in the future and changes are going to be synchronized across. You have assurance that they're the same, and you can avoid configuration drift and the other problems that come with that, knowing that wherever you provision something, it's going to be the same. And to actually show you how we do that, in the background here, I've got a couple of admins, and they're doing a couple of tasks for me. One of them is updating the Ubuntu template to 2 CPUs, that's Rob. Yep. And then the other one is actually adding an additional template here for reverse proxy. So if we get them to do that and click refresh, good, my prayers to the demo gods this morning worked. And there we go, we now have all those templates available.
So those templates now, Joe, through the vSphere web client interface that these folks use today, are actually both in the private cloud, and now they're also looking at those same templates to provision new applications and VMs on top of vCloud Hybrid Service.
Yeah, and in fact, if we flick back to vCloud Hybrid Service here, you'd be able to see those templates. But let's actually go ahead and provision an application, okay? And remember earlier, you may recognize this screen with the pictures on it? Yeah, okay, good. Now, you use the one on the left there, which is the Project Vulkan vSphere instance. Now, I know that you have low latency and other requirements for this application, but we want to deploy it in a public cloud environment. So if you look to the right, there's Project Vulkan, same icon, but underneath there it says vCloud Hybrid Service. Okay. So we're going to deploy this on vSphere, but this time in vCloud Hybrid Service. And to show you how seamless we've made that using those, I'm using those same templates, policies, etc.
Same interface here, Joe. Same thing that I use to provision my application.
Thing, right? Same thing you typed before, exactly the same process. We'll go down here and, Vulkan app, and for the guys in the back, do you want gold, silver, or bronze this time?
I want gold this time.
Yeah,
I learned my lesson, Joe.
Well, we can try silver just.
And I also want auto-scaling.
And then the benefit here is, let's go with silver, right? Because then what happens is you don't have to pay too much up front. And then as we go on, if we suddenly have this performance problem again, you know it's going to auto scale, and it'll be done fine. So we'll go with silver, and then we'll hit there, and then you're not wasting money, because I know you don't like wasting money. We click submit there, and you're pretty much done. I mean, that's it. It's provisioned. And to show you what's going on from our perspective in IT, if we now go back to that vSphere web client again, and see those machines. If we'll click on virtual machines, we'll put a filter in here. We can filter on the name of the project there. We'll type Vulkan in. And you'll see there, listed down there on the right-hand side, that there's those machines. And on the right, it says VCHS VDC. And that stands for vCloud Hybrid Service Virtual Data Center. Same templates, but this time running seamlessly through the same interface in our public cloud service, Carl. I don't think, to be honest, that all the guys in R&D, the thousands that have been working so hard on all of these demos and all of these products for us to release here today at VMworld, could have made it any more seamless for you or any more easy for you to actually do that.
Yeah, Joe, I must admit, today we've seen a lot of innovation, and we've brought a lot of new technologies and solutions to market. But I think one of the most impressive things that VMware's R&D and engineering organizations have done is actually integrate this all into a seamless interface for both IT and the end users. That is an amazing feat, and our round of applause should go out to the VMware R&D and engineering team around the world. Let's thank them. So what we've seen here in this last demo, Joe, is we truly saw the ability to seamlessly extend the software-defined data center into the public cloud. With a common management and orchestration platform, no change to the underlying architecture for both network and security. And oh, by the way, if you want to make a phone call and get support, you place a call to 1-800-VMware, and everything is good. We don't ask you where that virtual machine is running anymore. You truly have proved we can bring any application to market, run at any place, and there is no change to the IT operating procedures. Well done. Now, what's a couple of use cases for this type of architecture?
Well, so in addition to the use cases that were covered by Bill yesterday so eloquently in such a nice accent, we've had other people using different methods here for using our VCHS. Obviously, there's test and dev. There's people rolling out new style applications, as you saw, like auto-scale applications and different, maybe even stuff. We've had people playing with the new Cloud Foundry service in our early access program as well. And one of the exciting ones for me, actually, is you come to me and you say, Joe, I need my application deployed, and I need it deployed on Monday. And my answer to you from IT Ops is, I'm sorry, Carl, but I'm waiting on my hardware to be shipped, and it's not going to arrive for another 5.5 weeks. Well, now
I've heard that before.
Simple, right? Same vSphere web client, click on vCloud Hybrid Service, deploy that application, keep you happy, and we can either leave it there, or maybe even when that hardware does turn up, because it's seamless, we could bring it back again on premises. It's up to you. But what we're really delivering here in these use cases is the agility that business has been requiring out of IT for a very long time.
And you proved we can do it in a very seamless way. Joe, I must admit, after spending time with Kit and now spending time with you, I have a lot more confidence in our relationship going forward and that you truly know how to operate in this new world of IT. Thank you so much for joining me on stage.
It's been a pleasure, Carl, but...
Yeah? But what?
I'm not going to say tiger, okay? I want you to stop a second, because as a lot of you out there know, I've been actively on Twitter, and there's been a lot of feedback during the show, during this presentation this morning, in fact, and we've had a little discussion. And really, the 23,000 people out there and I have finally come on what we think our view of how you guys behave in IT, behave in the business when IT don't quite deliver you what you want.
What do you mean, Joe?
Well, you can sometimes be a bit demanding, and if we don't deliver exactly what they want right at the right time, sometimes they can get a little frustrated. Have you ever sensed that?
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, great job. Thanks for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Carl. Keep your cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers, mate.
So as I said earlier, in the first half of the demo, we showed and proved that we can truly bring the software-defined data center to life. We can allow applications to get very easy access to it, and those users then can provision themselves and also gain access to those applications. In the second half of the demo, what we just proved is that through powerful automation, provisioning, orchestration, and remediation tools that IT truly knows how to operate in this new world of the software-defined data center. And lastly, we proved that there is no public versus private, or public or private. It is truly a seamless world of hybrid cloud computing based on what VMware brought to market, another innovation here at VMworld 2013 with the software-defined data center and the vCloud hybrid service. This was once again another radically different approach for VMware to show you how we continue to innovate. But we have a couple other commitments we'd like to make to you. And while we bring this technology to market, it does drive convergence. It drives convergence of technology. And the software-defined data center was proof of that. But as we do that, we will ensure we not only protect the investments you and your partners have made in your infrastructure, but we will extend them and we will continue to leverage them in the future, as was a proof point with both NSX and virtual SAN. At the same time, technology, and specifically the technology we brought to life here today, drives the convergence of IT organizations. And many, if not all of you here in the audience today, actually made a massive bet on your career, and you bet with us here at VMware. And you've carved out a very unique position for you in IT. But IT is still siloed. There's still storage administrators. There's still networking administrators. There's still ops. And there's the emergence of this new cloud organization within IT. Because you all bet your careers over the last decade on VMware, we think you're uniquely positioned to actually be the team leader for IT in the future, because we showed how we can now provision a virtual machine, all of its infrastructure service, and we can operate in this new world. Now, us here at VMware, we love technology. And I believe it's one of the most radical technology companies ever to grace planet Earth. But there's also some other things that we know. We know that technology enables change. But quite frankly, it only enables change. What actually drives change is you, the champions. Go be a champion and once again, defy convention. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.